Good question right here. How did you meet Ben Goertzel? What are your opinions on Grace and Sophia? Thanks, Charles. Big fan of you, Ben, and Alex Chirpinoy. So I met Ben through, I think it was Mahela. It was Dr. M. She introduced Ben to Tom Flynn, our commercial director, and Tom talked to him, and then I had a chance to meet him. And I met him in person in Wyoming. He came to Laramie. We spent some time together and talked to each other and had the hat on. And we drank some beer and went to Chili's, ate some chips, and had an incredibly deep conversation. I think we spoke for about 6 hours straight. It was like a Lex Friedman level conversation. And I interviewed him and we broadcasted that. And what I left from Ben was really a sense of what a true academic is like. A person who has no ego, who's extremely humble, who's just surrounded by this perma curiosity. Everything is interesting. He wants to know how everything works. How does everything fit together? You could pour a puzzle in front of him. He'd get lost in it for an hour or two because he has to solve it, has to see it. And also someone who always is inspired by the science fiction of the future, the world we could live in, the things we could have, if only we humans could get out of our own way and we could find better ways of doing things. Now, I contribute in that respect with systems and what we do with Cardano, blockchain technology, and my company, Input Output. He contributes by trying to build an artificial intelligence that's real, an AGI, not a narrow AI that can do AlphaGo or, it has slightly better computer vision than the last computer vision, or you got good speech to text. Okay, it actually recognizes my weird accent. Okay, no. An AGI where you can just throw a problem at it and say, okay, AGI, go tell me the cure for this disease. You got it, boss. Comes back with all this thought and says, have you tried that? It's making contributions as if it's here. Okay. He wants to build that. And when you look at Grace and Sophia, the other Hansen products, his partner, really, these are just cases to carry that journey that he's been on. 300 plus papers. He got his PhD in math at 21. He's a super bright guy in that respect. And he's attracted around his orbit people who are equally brilliant or trained people. And those are just cases to hold those ideas and those things. Now, they happen to be very valuable cases if they happen to solve real problems. In the case of Grace, this is an area that is near and dear to my heart because two of my grandparents, actually all three of my grandparents died recently, in the last 36 months. I lost my two grandmothers and a grandfather, my dad's mother and father, and I lost my mom's mother. They all died of neurodegenerative disorders. On my dad's side, my grandfather had Parkinson's and my grandmother had dementia. And on my mom's side, my grandmother died of Alzheimer's from my grandfather on my dad's side. So I remembered them in their prime. I remembered them, when they were doing brilliant things and talking brilliant thoughts. And I watched them decline and decay. And it was a slow, horrible process, really dehumanizing. Grace is all about interacting with people who are in that state of affairs. They still have, from time to time, lucid thoughts. They still have, from time to time, things that are remnants of who they were when they were like us. And the problem is the conditions, the disorders are so caustic and corrosive to all of those around these people that people stop paying attention and they lose those lucid moments. Any single person who cares for people who have memory problems or neurodegenerative problems or have a family member that's this way, they can tell you they felt it. It's horrible. And it takes the patience of a saint to be able to see through all of that and try to connect to those last vestiges of lucid moments. Grace has unlimited patience. That's the nature of the game. Grace has no ego. Grace has all the time in the world. Grace can sit and listen to the wildest confabulation, the wildest, craziest ideas. And Grace will somehow be able to sort all of that out and find something hidden gem within all of it that's there. Grace also can hear things that humans can't hear. Like, for example, when your Parkinson's is getting worse, very subtle changes to your vocal cords occur. Subtle changes to your eyesight occur. You have this dementia stare. Every care provider who deals with those who are neurodegenerative, they notice that stare, that glazed over, vacant look that people develop. Grace can see that, internalize that, measure the state, take the vitals every time, and can sit by the bedside of these people 8 hours, 12 hours, 16 hours. It's just a limitation of how many graces you have. And it can watch all these things. And what Grace can do is sort the fact from fiction and put those last lucid moments together and give those last lucid moments to the family in a way that is appropriate. That alone is, I think, worth the entire endeavor. If we solve nothing else with Ben's work, that one thing I would have given anything for my grandparents. I would have given anything for that. In my 20s and in my 30s, I have traveled so much. And unfortunately, because of that, I missed the last lucid years of my grandparents. I just hear about it from afar. And I didn't even get to go to most of the funerals, just my grandmother's funeral on my mom's side. The other two I missed. And that's sad. That's really sad. So I think that these are great accomplishments. I love people who dream big, try big, because even if they don't succeed, even if they don't get there, the attempt to get there, the attempt to succeed, that's what really matters. That's what you should be teaching your children if you're parents, if you're an educator and you're in a position of mentoring someone, sculpting someone, if you are someone in a position of authority over someone. Turn off the news media, turn off the cynicism. Stop paying attention to those who say you can't. Stop paying attention to those who say that's just not the way the world works. And start listening and working with and interacting with the people crazy enough to believe they actually can change something. Because you know what? If enough of us get together and believe that, it happens. It's just that simple. I believe in 10 years' time, there will be a Grace for someone else's grandfather and grandmother that actually does that job. And I believe in 10 years' time, as robotics gets more advanced, that Grace is going to do a whole lot of things. And I guarantee a lot of burnt out nurses out there that really could use that because they're goddamn tired and they work too hard already. And they make a lot of mistakes because they're so tired and worn down, and they deal with the same stuff and bureaucracy again and again and again. And in many cases, they're treated like robots themselves. Before my brother was a doctor, he was a nurse, and he dealt with the brunt of all of it. That's why the nurses like him, because he's one of the doctors that actually was one of them and knows that has some kinship there. And having a Grace around is a lifesaver. Stops you from making mistakes. It helps you do your job better, and it gives a lot more grace and dignity to the treatment of those who need help for all of us.